Alright, time to feed the viewers. Time to feed the viewers. They want their content. Yeah. Hello viewers. Another beautiful day. Hope your five senses work. Health and strength is good. Work. Excellent. Good. Alright, now. So, Microsoft is remember Microsoft and Nvidia made their little collaboration with Directx. So now it's Directx R. Okay, well, what do we got here? Got this article from NeoWind here. It says Microsoft unveils Directx ray tracing. 1.2 promised major leap in path tracing performance. See, I told you, ray tracing is dead. Anyway, sitting messing with y'all. What do I got here? Microsoft just unveiled Directx ray tracing, DXR 1.2 at Game Developer Conference. An update to Directx technology. Stackit's calling the next evolution in graphics. While the full showcase will be shown to public later, the company is promising some major advancement in path tracing performance via opacity micro maps and shaders execution recording, according to a developer blog post by senior program manager lead at Microsoft, Casey Ove. Microsoft is working with hardware partners like AMD, Intel, Nvidia, Qualcomm, as well as game developers to showcase the latest DXR implementation. And says here the new technology that will enable the massive performance boost in ray tracing are described like this. Says here opacity micro maps, significant optimized alpha test geometry, delivering up to 2.3x performance improvement in path trace games, but efficiently managing opacity data, OMM, reduced shaders, invocations greatly enhanced, rendering efficiency without compromise, visual quality. And then it says shader execution recording offers a major leap forward in rendering performance up to 2x faster in some scenarios by intelligently grouping shaders execution to enhance GPU efficiency, reduce divergence, and boost frame rates, making ray trace titles smoother and more immersive than ever. This feature paves the way for more path trace in the future. See, I told you ray tracing was dead. You didn't believe me, huh? Alright, this is the proof I need. Just joking. Anyway, so what do we got here? Take the next step in ray tracing. In April 25th, be on the first to preview Directx Ray Tracing 1.2. AMD, Intel, Nvidia, Qualcomm. Yeah. And it says, we're thrilled that our hardware partners are fully embracing these cutting-edge features, added Microsoft. Nvidia has committed driver support across GeForce RTX GPUs, and we're effectively working with other hardware vendors, including AMD, Intel, and Qualcomm to to ensure widespread adoption. Yeah. And then it says the company also unveiled other upcoming technologies at GDC presentation, including memory usage reduction with the use of neural blocks, texture compression, as well as neural super sampling, and denosing for accurate real-time path tracing visuals without hurting performance. Expect more information about Directx Ray Tracing 1.2 with demo showcasing the improvement from developers arrive soon. Okay, so video games is in good hands. You know, ray tracing, path tracing, DLSS, FSR, fluid motion. Yeah. AMMF technologies. you know, into XeSS. Yeah, gaming is looking good, man. Now we got 7 comments. See what the commenter is talking about here. No, we got 7 comments. I know we do. Mike said this: it's funny how some departments in Microsoft are interested in making the code faster to useless memory, etc., and others at other depth are interested in bloating Windows with non-removable suggestion and recommendation, which are ads that, let's be honest. And who is this? Becker said this: sadly, Microsoft software has largely just become a front for Azure, and in Azure they don't really care if it's less effective. That just means they can sell you more CPUs. And then who is this? Zeromus 2003 said this: I thought Azure is called Entra. Microsoft always making silly names. For what it's worth, we still call it Azure too. Let's see, who's this? Wongle said Entra is their cloud-based identity service. Azure is still Azure. And Becker said, you are thinking of an offering with Azure. What was once called Azure AD is now called Entra ID. Azure is as a whole is still called Azure. And then who was this? George said this: this is very interesting stuff. I'll take anything that speeds up performance and doesn't heavily rely on expensive hardware in process. Now, if only dev would take the time to really optimize their game still. Maybe the growth of handhelds will do it. People likely hate on the Series S, but if a dev takes the time to get their game to run smooth on that, it will automatically run way better on other more powerful devices. And then Red said this: always nice to hear about performance improvements that don't require buying a new 1500 graphics card. Yeah, you might need that graphics card for that new performance too. And of course CPU do count and RAM do count. Yeah. Microsoft, Qualcomm, Intel, AMD, and Nvidia, man. Gaming is in good hands, man. I would say. Now there's an article here too on Tom's Hardware. Let's see what they're yapping about here. Let's see what Tom's Hardware. Let's see here. Same thing. What they say here? They say they got 11 comments on this too. They say Microsoft say DirectX Ray Tracing 1.2 will deliver up to 2.3x performance uplift. And they say Microsoft announced this week its Direct Ray Tracing DXR 1.2 application programming interface, which introduced new features that will significantly improve visual quality and rendering. Says performance up to 2.3 times. And AMD, Intel, Nvidia, Qualcomm, along with developers like Remedy, are working to integrate DirectX 1.2 technology into future gaming hardware and software. And let's see, it says DirectX Ray Tracing 1.2 update includes capacity of micro maps and shader evolution recording, SIR2 technologies that boost performance, ray trace games by 2 to 2.3 times. Both technology must be implemented into actual games or game engines to experience the performance benefits. And then it says 2x 2.3 performance boost. One of the main issues with alpha test geometry foliage, fence hair, and ray trace is extra calculation required for light to determine whether it hits a surface or pass through. Opacity micromaps improve how alpha test geometry process by alpha texture within alpha channel to a flat surface. It's then remove the pixel below a certain transparency threshold. OMM reduce the number of times shaders needs to be used, leading to higher efficiency and performance. See, Tom's Hardware went a little deeper with this. And what do we got here? It says here, in the best case scenario, Microsoft claims an improvement of 2.3 times. However, keep in mind that's not all games, and scenes contain a lot of elements like foliage and fence. For example, while Stalker 2 has loads of grass, leaves, and fence, and particularly all scenes, Cyberpunk 2077 barely has any foliage. You mean the game that everybody was laughing at? You know, they went at Cyberpunk and then all of a sudden they ain't laughing no more. It says shader execution reordering SER seems to be a move universal feature, as it's a reorder how shaders are executed to avoid shader divergence. Shaders divergence occur when nearby pixel requires shaders to do different tasks. A common situation in scenes with heavy ray trace effects such as complex lighting, realistic shadows, and detailed reflection. Alright, and then it says GPU process shaders in parallel threads organized into groups called warps and wavefronts. Ideally, all threads with a group executed identical instructions simultaneously maximize GPU efficiency. Shaders divergence occur when threads in same wrap of wavefronts needs perform different instruction. In this case, simultaneous execution is possible, forcing the GPU to handle each instruction path separately, leaving some traced idle, increasing latency. According to Microsoft, sort of batch similar shaders workload together, reducing divergence and maximizing GPU utilization and speeding up rendering by up to 2 times. Okay, that makes more sense. And then it says says here hardware support. Regarding hardware support, the situation is a mixed bag, which is common with new API features. All NVIDIA GPU dating back to Turing GeForce RTX 20 series supports opacity micro maps, OMM. So these graphics cards can potentially experience a performance boost once game developers implement them into their titles. Intel said its next generation Celestial XC3 GPU will also support OMM. And what else we got here? It says here NVIDIA GPUs have supported shaders execution reordering starting with GeForce RTX 40 series Ada Lovelace family. Intel said it looks forward to supporting SIR when it's available in a future Agility SDK. However, whether it will be supported on Intel Arc Alchemist or Arc BattleMake GPUs or both is unclear. AMD does not seem to support OMM or SIR on its RDNA 2, 3, 4 GPUs, though Microsoft said that Red Company is working with it on the widespread adoption of these technologies. Also, AMD has certain scheduling optimization that may mimic how SIR works, so if game developers take time to optimize for Radeon GPUs, the latter may get some speed improvement. Qualcomm also does not support OMM or SIR, but said it would on its next generation integrated GPUs. The preview version of DirectX 1.2 will launch in April. That article Tom's Hardware went a little deeper with it, so well, gotta wait till April to see what this can do. So yeah, AMD, Intel, Qualcomm, NVIDIA, Microsoft, All right, we'll see. We'll see what this tech can do when they do it in a real demonstration. So all we can do is wait. Now we got, I think, 7 comments here. 7 comments, 11 to be exact. 11. Who is this? Fran said this. Also, AMD has certain scheduling optimization that may mimic how SUR works. So if the game developer takes time to optimize for Radeon GPUs, the latter may get some speed improvement. So AMD cards won't get any benefit from these. Got it? And good to see Microsoft actually doing something with DirectX. DX feels dead and has felt dead for a while. Zero new tech for their end. Same thing I say about Kronos and Vulkan OpenGL though. Anyway, who is this? Qwerty said this. DXR is a real advantage over Vulkan. Someone has to push for vendors agnostic standards here, else Nvidia will continue to monopolize. It's just like they do the AI space. And then Heffy said this. Hopefully, he's responding to Fran. He said, hopefully it's a SW thing and RDNA 2 through 4 will get it sooner than later. And then Terry Lee said this. He's responding to Qwerty. What? The only vendor agnostic standard would be software rendering, and that would be terrible. You have to use hardware to make it faster, and that's hardware going to change from one to the other. If they make a standard for certain hardware, then hardware will not progress anymore for fear of losing compatibility, which is why they still have x86 base from the 1920s hyperbole. Anyway, okay. And then Terry, who's this? And then Terry says, he's responding to Heffy. He said, it's a software thing, as in somebody has the code for specific hardware in AMD cards, but outside of console, is there anybody that has any urge to do it? And the resource, of course, maybe Steam/Valve could, but they're using Linux, so why should they bother? Good question. And then let's see, Jared responds here. He said this, responding to Heffy. My understanding in talking with Nvidia about SER is that they are hardware features alongside the software tweaks, which is why Ampere and Turing don't support SER. You can recognize things in software before sending the shaders to the GPU to execute it, but apparently that doesn't do much. And then frankly, SER has always felt a bit like something that most software could be implemented for other GPUs, sort of like how FrameGen and MFG could be done on Tensor cores. So it would be surprising if there is a benefit to a DXR 1.2 with SER and pre-alpha Ada RTX card, along with AMD and Intel GPU. Maybe not as much of a benefit as if there are hardware hooks though. And then Peck said this. Peck responded to Jared. He said, you're probably wrong about SER. There are several hardware requirements for it. A huge L2, that's NX 10 megabyte, capable of containing all the register files, because it is through it that their recording occurs. So as well as the recording function, in addition, these calls must be encoded in the game, which no one has done except CP 2077. Then it says, talking about Cyberpunk 2077, in my opinion, the technology looks terrible. If you imagine how many of these permutations will be written in each frame, it's just a waste of L2 BW and overhead. probably for the reason this technology is not used, and the implementation in DX will not advance it much. More about Sir on C&C. That must be Command and Conquer. And he say AMD approached the hardware thread scheduling in RDNA 4 without the need for the huge L2 seems more interesting, but we don't know the implementation details yet. AMD for the win, folks. Anyway, and then man said this. So now Microsoft decides it wants to do something. Nvidia brought out ray tracing in 2018. Microsoft is way behind. They need to get into the game, into gaming mode. But I guess since they're partners with AMD, they decide they're going to do something now. Now that AMD finally has okay ray trace support after all these years. Shame. And then Human said this. Opacity micro maps really helped path tracing in Cyberpunk. Prior to them being implemented, Proformance would really tank near areas with a lot of trees or windows. And then who is this? BL said this. Well, he's responding to Fran. He said, well, you do have to consider that's a lot of games. Well, you do have to consider that a lot of games are built with consoles in mind, and they are all AMD except for Nintendo. There's game engines could be built with that in mind. Yeah. Is there any more comments here? Going once, going twice. Let's see, anybody here? Let's see here. Going once, going twice. Oh, one more comment. And then, who is this? There's one more comment. Who is this? Man is responding. Who is this? Blip, and then Blip BL comes back. He said, I mean, he responds to man. He said, I mean, useless. You are talking about the console. AMD had solid ray tracing support in its GPU since 2020. Good point. Well, the debaters and politicians have spoken. So we're gonna have to wait till April to see a full demonstration of this and what this can really do. And see if Microsoft is really playing catch up. When it comes to Directx, in video games. I mean, they do have Directx 12, so we'll see what this all means come April. Today's March 21st, so yeah, I had to get both articles, because it was needed. Yeah, Tom Hardware tends to go a little deeper, so cover them both. Yeah, it's kind of like when I cover the like when it comes to the Intel and like WHQLs or when Nvidia and AMD and Intel update their graphics card. I do two articles to see how they cover them. So yeah. But other than that, man, Microsoft has been doing their homework. They're playing catch up, so yeah. I mean, they got so much stuff going on right now. I mean, from a Windows perspective, gaming perspective, yeah, console perspective, which is gaming. They just got their hands on a lot of things. Nvidia keeps coming out with these new techs now. AMD got their hands in a whole bunch of stuff, and Intel, yep. And then Qualcomm now, they're bringing their Snapdragons to these portable PCs now. So yeah, all 5 companies, man, keeping the game industry alive, man. But we'll have to see. We'll have to wait till April, which is in about a week or two, to see what this all means and how will this work with games that are out. Let's say Cyberpunk 2077 or Red Dead Redemption. Any game that you play, how they all work. You know, yeah. What's the difference? DirectX with an AMD graphics card, DirectX ray tracing, 1.2 with NVIDIA, Intel. Yeah, see what that means. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this video for y'all to enjoy though. Nice talking to you people again. Crystal Star Wars Touch Today. Directx. I'm gone. Peace.